Hello, and welcome to Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. A lot's been going on this week. In his effort to make the government more efficient, Donald Trump ended up firing most of the country's nuclear inspectors. He reckons this will make the country more efficient, as most of his supporters look like the after effects of a nuclear meltdown, with the third nipple and extra fingers having grown in their mouths. To be fair, Trump was probably afraid the inspectors would want to take a look at the last dump he took in the White House toilet. Trump brought back Stephen Miller into his second administration. I didn't think it was possible, but Stephen Miller looks even worse than he did during Trump's first term. He looks like he's slowly dying from the poison that Vladimir Putin used to give his opposition. Trump says he's interested in the United States taking over the Gaza Strip for the purposes of economic development. I'm not sure a failed casino magnate developing land occupied by a bunch of non-white people is the correct image that this country wants to project onto the world. Marco Rubio's successor to replace him in the Senate is Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. Senator Moody is the best surname given her demeanor, as Senator Miserable Looking Bitch wouldn't fit on her door placard.
Jesus Christ.
It just goes downhill from here. Several departments of the federal government are now under the control of employees of Elon Musk. Some of these employees range in age from 19 to 26. I did check out their profiles, and while on one hand, they do have access to a bunch of stuff which they shouldn't have access, like our social security numbers, our payroll information. On the other hand, that's less drinks these kids are going to try to roofie. Bill Maher says he's contemplating Trump's second term and wondering how it would affect his comedy. What comedy? Bill Maher has the air of a preacher who keeps getting rejected by rent boys. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg criticized corporate America for making masculinity negative and giving it a toxic representation. This coming from the guy who would dissolve if you gave him a shot of testosterone. Anita Bryant, the Christian and anti-gay activist, passed away. I don't want to say that her views were reprehensible, but I hope that the funeral home attendant was a woman who fingered her snatch. And on that cheerful note, on with the show. Please join me in welcoming Jess Feeney, Polite Kitty, and Valerie Paschall.
Hello. Lord, I got whiplash from that last segment. I feel assaulted.
You have been fully acclimated to this show then, Jess. So
yeah,
welcome.
You're right. I don't know what I expected.
Only Tom can make necrophilia, funny.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. became Secretary of Health and Human Services. He was booed and heckled by protesters on his first day on the job, which still makes him the most successful member of the Kennedy family since the 1960s. Trump has replaced the head of the Kennedy Center Board of Directors with himself. He chose himself presumably because none of the black ops who were responsible for Kennedy's assassination are still alive. This move must make JFK want to come back to life so he can get shot in the head again. People are saying Trump taking over the Kennedy Center is the downfall of arts in this country. I disagree. In my opinion, the beginning of the downfall of arts in this country occurred when Paris Hilton uttered the phrase, "Hey, Kim Kardashian, do you want to appear on my show?" This move will take American arts in a more fascist direction, but for most straight, cisgendered, white, male podcast hosts, life will go on as normal. Present company excluded, of course. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did a tour of Europe to introduce himself to the rest of the world. The world leaders were overheard remarking, "Wow, I've never seen a mannequin that a department store has thrown out because it has arrived defective before." In addition to Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance lectured the other countries about how they maintain their democratic forms of government. Hearing J.D. Vance lecture about democracy is a bit like showing up to a party, peeing all over the hors d'oeuvres, and then complaining that the food stinks. And joining us this week to go ahead and discuss this week's big topics, please welcome back to the show retired Army Major, former West Virginia State Senator, former presidential candidate, podcast host, former congressional and potential congressional candidate, Richard Ojeda.
Glad to be on here, Tom. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the show. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know when this goes out, you probably will have officially announced that you're running for Congress. So
yes, I really appreciate you guys letting me come on here. I'm excited. I think that I absolutely have a great opportunity here to flip a seat from red to blue. When I ran in 2018 in West Virginia, I ran in an R plus 54, which was basically impossible. But 2 weeks before the election, I was actually ahead. And then Donald Trump come to West Virginia and called me a stone cold crazy wacko and put on that coal miner's cap, and everybody went crazy. And I lost. But, it's not a R plus 54 here in North Carolina. I think that my district is heavily saturated, at least 50% of it, with veterans. And let me tell you something. There's nobody going to fight for veterans health care more than a fellow veteran will. That is a fact. My opponent will not be able to say that, but I will. And, anybody who knows me knows that I absolutely can get things done. I was in a super minority when I was a senator in West Virginia. And even the Democrats told me not to mess with medical cannabis, but I pushed it anyway, got the people behind me. And on the last day of my first legislative session, my bill became into law in West Virginia, which is why it's the 29th state for medical cannabis. So, I can get things done. I got 2 pay raises for corrections. And the teacher strike started with my speech, and we fought for 9 days and won. So, I believe that I do have the ability to go to Washington, D.C. and get things done. And make no mistake about it, I don't care who you are. If I have an issue with you, I will let you know.
Bring it,
Let's
say. Let's do
go,
it. Yeah.
dude. Hell yeah.
I've never wanted to live in North Carolina again after having gone to college there, but I'm kind of changing my mind right now.
I know. I want to vote for you.
Well, I mean, think about it. The state, they elected a Democrat governor. We have a Democrat district. No. Goodness gracious.
Attorney General
are right now, of course, they're still fighting it, but we should be taking the Supreme Court in the state. They're trying to throw a bunch of votes out, but they're going to lose, and we're going to have that. So, North Carolina is definitely far better than what I left, because once again, West Virginia went completely crazy for Donald Trump, and they're going to learn, and they're going to learn real soon. Southern West Virginia is underwater right now, and normally FEMA would be there helping these people, and I don't think they are. So, this is what happens when you allow, Trump's, the things that he does it's going to affect people. So I hate that those people are struggling.
Yeah.
But once again, it's one of those things is that, you guys voted for this. We told you everything about how Donald Trump told over 30,000 verified lies. And then all of a sudden, right before the election, they all started thinking that now he was going to be truthful. And he's not truthful. They've done nothing but lie. He has allowed Elon Musk to literally go after entire swaths of voters in this country, take their jobs from them. And, this is going to blow up in their face. And my thing is the sooner the better. I mean, if it's time to take it to the streets, then let's take it to the streets. Let me tell you something. I draw my retirement because I spent 24 years in the United States military. I gave my youth to Uncle Sam. I deserve my disability because over those 24 years, you sent me to combat zones, to humanitarian aid missions, and you broke us. I have breathed in burning bodies. I have been around burn pits. I've been around vehicles destroyed with depleted uranium. I've had over 30 cysts removed from my body. I got to get 3 removed on my left arm alone within the next week. So, you're now talking about that you don't think we deserve that? Be very careful what you do. Because let me tell you something. Elon Musk is not going to get to come and take our veterans' benefits away. And if you think that he can, you better be careful, because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of veterans that I know that are ready to take it to the streets now.
Trump knows what works well with his base and those who support him. the most, even if it's at the risk of wanting to cover not only what most Americans want, but also what his former favorite network, Fox, wants him to cover, as this clip featuring pushback from, of all people, Sean Hannity shows us.
Turned off the spigot from up north in order to protect the Delta smelt.
Let me move on to the
And by the way, I don't really believe it's the Delta smelt, because nobody could do that. Somebody advised Joe Biden to give pardons to everybody but him. They wanted to take care of. Yeah, but Sean, they wanted to. I don't care.
They're yelling at me.
This is more important because right now the economy is going to do great.
I want to know about
I'm here, so the economy.
I'm surprised Sean Hannity made it out alive, to be honest.
Sean Hannity is a bootlicking worm. All of them are. It just kills me how they do that. They absolutely do everything. And they already found out that they also gave Donald Trump the answers to all the questions the last time he was on there, because that's how they are. That's an organization that should be ran out of business. They were fined $787 million. And, I'm hoping that daggone Smartmatic gets another $787 million. And maybe that's enough to put them off the air, because that's where they need to be.
To be fair, though, like, Trump doesn't necessarily so much answer questions. It's more like, sort of a stream of consciousness, like the way I'm sure like most of us on this panel have seen a stream of consciousness open mic comedian just go completely downhill.
That's what he does. He is a buffoon. But I mean, it kills me the things that are going on and how he's dealing with this. All the promises that he made, he didn't follow through with none of them. But he changes the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and now they're talking about red, white, and blue land. I mean, here is a guy who is picking fights with our allies that have been our allies since World War II. He starts off with Canada, with Mexico and Panama. Then he tells Egypt and Jordan that they're going to have to take 2 million refugees, and he's talking about they're going to be moved into really nice homes. What homes? Nothing has been built, And oh, by the way, if you think for 1 second that if he puts American sons and daughters on the Gaza Strip so he can have security while they build the Trump Tower, make no mistake about it, those American troops will be nothing more than cannon fodder. Because if you think that they're going to push those people off of that land and it's not going to absolutely bring World War III into this, then you're not paying attention. He is absolutely incompetent, doesn't know what he's doing, and it shows. And the whole entire world, all of our allies are starting to have conversations about what to do with Donald Trump. They're having it, all over Europe. And I can't say that I blame them. And I'm embarrassed right now. I'm embarrassed right now at this country because we deserve so much better than what we're getting.
He's clearly he's addled, I mean, he's so much worse than he was even in his first term. He's clearly just losing his goddamn mind on top of being just a profoundly stupid person anyway. And they're not imagine how bad it has to get for Sean Hannity to offer any sort of pushback. And he, and he's really trying there. And he's saying oh, they're yelling at me. They're yelling at me. And it's not like he's really trying to drill him down on the economy. It's because they know he sounds insane and that's their fucking guy. So they're like, dude, you got to get him on track. You got it. Please don't let him look like a crazy person. But he is a crazy person. And go ahead.
No, they know, that his base, the poorly educated. But I'm going to tell you right now, the poorly educated are starting to wake up. We're seeing farmers that are saying, hey, we voted for this guy, but we got done wrong. Anybody out there that allowed themselves to be used by Donald Trump, and I'm talking blacks for Trump, Latinos for Trump, Hispanics for Trump, Cubans for Trump, Palestinians for Trump. Some of those people right now are sitting in deportation centers right now, waiting for an aircraft to take them back to a country that they fled from. That's what's happening. They if you think that Donald Trump cared, Donald Trump was more than happy to take your votes. But now you don't matter. And the way they're doing things, I mean, they're really trying to stack the deck in their favor to where they will never lose another election. They're trying to make it to where women will no longer be allowed to vote. I mean, they're trying to take that away from the women in this country. And let me tell you something. There's more women than there are men in this country. And women need to start standing up. And I cannot stand it when I find these women that vote for Donald Trump that are absolutely more than willing to give away their rights. You know, it broke my heart. That's one of the reasons why I left West Virginia, is because it was my speech that started the teacher strike. And 9 days we fought and we won that fight. And, you know, the very teachers that I stood with, I was the voice of that strike. Most of them teachers literally after the election said, we like Richard Ojeda, but we couldn't vote for him because our husbands are coal miners and Richard Ojeda don't like coal. First and foremost, never did I say I was against coal, but I will be upfront and honest and tell you that coal is a dying resource. So instead of basically continuing down this road of digging coal, because nobody should ever want their children to follow them into a damn mine. My thoughts are is let's bring capabilities to West Virginia so that these people can transition when the mines shut down, so that their kids can go into something else versus following them into the mine. And that right there, you know, besides that, Donald Trump coming to West Virginia, putting on a coal miner's cap and acting like he was working a fake shovel. You know, he had never held a shovel in his hand and actually done any real digging in his entire life. But those people in West Virginia, they just thought that it's baby Jesus. No.
No, it was coal miner cosplay.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it was really sad because we did everything right. You know, but let me tell you something in reference to elections. You guys, the Democratic Party have got to get honest with themselves. And I'm going to tell you that I'll say something here right now that some people may not agree with, but I'm going to tell you I'm right. I don't give two shits about daggone Hakeem Jeffries running to daggone Palo Alto in California and sitting down with all the billionaires that are Democrats. Look, that's the wrong answer. Get your ass down to these daggone red states and start putting some boots on the ground and start finding some people to get rid of these assholes. Marcus Flowers ran the greatest race in the country 2 years ago when he ran against Marge the Trainwreck Green. He raised $30 million, and 15 minutes after they shut down the polls, the race was called for Marge the Trainwreck Green. Now, you want to know why it was called for Marge the Trainwreck Green? Because her district is a bunch of racist friggin' jackaloons. And they won't vote for a person of color no matter what, even though he was 1,000 times better than she was. And once again, this last election, a one-star general of color ran against Marge the Trainwreck Green, and she won again. Maybe we need to put boots on the ground, and maybe we need to find somebody in her district that is a good person that everybody in the community can rally around, and we can get rid of her raggedy ass.
Most of the members of the press corps following chief executives of other countries have come to know what to expect when dealing with Trump during his press conferences, much like how people know how to deal with the relative who starts peppering racial epithets into his diatribes at the family function after about 6 Michelob Ultras. In this clip, we can see Trump's personality shine through when dealing with the foreign press.
I'd like to ask you a question about, in last few years, we have seen several groups in the US raising anti-India voice, calling about separation, terrorism activities in India. Do you think that should continue here in the US as well?
You're going to have to go louder.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Tahabur Rana to...
I can't understand a word he's saying.
Now, I think we could agree that normal people, like if we don't understand a question, we just, just say, could you repeat that? And instead of just melting down like they just watched James Austin Johnson do an over-the-top impression of them on Saturday Night Live.
He really doesn't care. Like, he does not give a shit about being nice to anybody or like looking like a decent human being. Holy shit. That's our head of state. That's our fucking head of state, dude. That's our main guy.
It's not just that.
Make America embarrassed again.
Yes. But oh, by the way, India is trying to get some of our F-35 aircrafts. And the dangerous part here is that India, that Modi, he's also pretty close with Vladimir Putin. So literally, if Donald Trump wants to give our F-35 capability to India, make no mistake about it, it'll make its way into the hands of Russia. And look, I'm at the point now where I still, the classified documents is something that will always weigh on me, and I'm going to tell you, I guarantee you the way those documents were stored in that bathroom, I guarantee you our secrets have been compromised. I guarantee you there were people that were told, go in the bathroom, shut the door, third box down to the left, open it up, halfway through, you'll find the files that you're looking for. And that's exactly what happened. Anybody else, I held a top secret security clearance. Anybody getting caught with one single piece of paper, that's 5 years in prison. Donald Trump stole 126 boxes of classified documents, information about our nuclear capability, our submarines, our defense capabilities, all of that. And once again, remember, when he first took over the president, what did he do? He wanted a list of all the people that were working for the United States of America as our undercover agents. And all of a sudden, we had a huge uptick of people getting compromised, arrested, and even killed. And if you think that Donald Trump didn't have something to do with that, you're not paying attention. I cannot believe that this guy is back in power. I cannot believe that American citizens failed this country. I cannot believe, well, I can believe. Because for 50 years, they have been absolutely attacking our education system in this country. They have wanted to dumb down this country so bad that it's so easy to believe all this garbage. And once again, that's what we see today. All these people that are still acting like Donald Trump's the second coming of Christ, they believe everything that he says. And no matter how many times we prove to them that this was a lie, this was a lie, this was a lie, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Donald Trump's still talking about they've been paying people Social Security that's 150 years old. All of that is bullshit. It is all lies. But Donald Trump's base don't do any research. They just drink from the fountain of Fox, Newsmax, and OAN. And as long as they are continuing to do that, we're always going to have this problem. We're always going to have our democracy hanging in the balance.
I mean, he's Teflon Don. That's his legacy.
Are the people in Trump's orbit really evil geniuses? Evil? Yes. Geniuses? Well, maybe unintentionally. As this clip of Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville saying the quiet part out loud when talking about transgendered athletes shows us.
Not when it comes to women's sports. I'm not going to have it. And I'm sick and tired of, the NCAA and some of these organizations playing dictator. And there's no dictatorship here other than Donald Trump saying this is not going to happen. So NCAA needs to come back out and say, listen, we're done with transgenders in women's sports, whether it's practice, whether it's game, whether it's dressing in dressing rooms at practice or after a game. What do they not understand about? No, I don't understand that.
I mean, if this was the mob, Tommy Tuberville probably would have been rubbed out in the first week after taking office.
Yeah,
he's no poker face
in the drawer. He's not. No. He's not. But here's the thing too, is that we have allowed them to take that, and make that the number one topic of conversation. Understand, I will be 55 years old on my birthday, and I know 3 transgenders in my entire life. 3 people that were transgender. In terms of like the NCAA with the sports and all that, I believe there are less than 10 that are even registered for sports. But yet we allow these people to make that the number one thing. Let me tell you something. I do not know, and I challenge anybody to find a transgender person who went into a bathroom and basically preyed on a child. You're not going to find that. I don't think you're going to find it, but you sure as hell can find that with regular people out there, with regular guys that have went in the bathrooms and done things, or went into women's bathrooms and done things against women. That happens all the daggone time. There's people that drop things in women's drinks and stuff like that all the time. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to act like the transgender thing is the most important topic in this country, and it's not. There are less than 10 transgender athletes at the collegiate level across the country. So, knock it off.
That's one of those laws that just drove me nuts, because I'm like, who is this for? Yeah. Who is this for? It's against less than 10 people. Who is it for?
Yeah, but it's for those jackaloons like where I come from in southern West Virginia. They're like, yeah, we don't want them transgenders. It will never affect your life. It will never affect your life. And here's the thing too. Let's look at these people. I know one transgender person who actually created her own job, and now she pays like 3 people living wages. They're taxpayers. These people, they want to belong. They want to be able to get things done. They want to enjoy peace in their lives. And we just refuse to allow that to happen. When my thing is just shut up, leave the people alone. Let the people be who they want to be. I don't care how you love, how you pray. I don't care. Just don't throw it on me. And once again, look, you're not throwing anything on me. I'm more than willing to say, look, you live your life. I want you to be happy. Why not? That should be what everybody wants to do. To allow something like this to be the topic of conversation is why they're winning. And that's why they have such a poorly educated base. That's why they've been fighting public education for 50 years, because stupid people are easily duped. And they've duped them by thinking that transgender is going to upend their lives. And look, I fight with the pastor almost daily on my phone. And literally, I busted his ass because I'm like, he had the nerve to tell me that transgenders are taking over the world and that Kamala Harris was enriched in satanic values, but Donald Trump was the way, the truth, and the light. So once again, that's the problem. It's not just the poorly educated. It's these pastors out here who have looked outside at their flock and said, oh my God, look at all those Trump Vance stickers on their cars. Those people put into my kitty every daggone week. So I can't let them know that Donald Trump is an evil man. I've got to go with it. And that's what they did. The woman who wanted to allow young people to be able to afford their first home, a woman who wanted to lower prescription drug costs, a woman who wanted to do so much for the people in this country got vilified while they literally acted as if Donald Trump was the second coming of Christ. And you know what? They're going to pay for that in this life or the next, but they're going to pay for it. Well, look, I go live every night on Ojeda Live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow me. Share my shows. You can go to theturnleftpack.org. You can get you some Jackaloon merch. But once again, on Thursday, I will be officially announcing, and I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm ready to work my butt off. People don't understand. I look at this like a combat deployment. I hit the ground. I'm going to go nonstop until it's over with, until it's time for me to get back on the plane and fly back home. So that's the way I'm going to look at this election. And I guarantee you there's no way on the face of this earth that this guy can outwork me. He won't do it.
What a coincidence. The same day this episode dropped. Yes.
Let's do it.
I'm loving this. And on that note, that's our show. I want to thank Jess Feeney, Polite Kitty, Valerie Paschall, and Richard Ojeda.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom.
Thank you, Richard.
This episode was written and hosted by Tom Myers with panelists Jess Feeney, Polite Kitty, Valerie Paschall, and Richard Ojeda. Theme music composed and arranged by Jeroen van den Hurck. Executive producers Tom Myers, Aaron Duspiva for Oddly Funny Productions, Matt Connarton for ipmNation, and Eddie Carson for Odyssey Radio. Please leave a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Tom Myers, for access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, and bonus clips. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for listening, and please visit tommyers.us.